the darkness you give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise. Pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs. So we pour out our praise to you only. Give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. And great are you, Lord. It's your Lord, we are so grateful for the gifts that you have given us, God, the financial, tangible, material gifts. And we take this time of offering to offer that back to you, God. But let us not forget that everything is from you, even the very breath in our lungs. And we just offer that back to you through praise today. you. We won't move without you. You're the light of all and all that we need. We won't move without you. We won't move without you. You're the light of all and all that we need. We won't move without you. We won't move without you. You're the light of all and all that we need. The world our lives, every day, never changing.
Well, good morning. My name is Dean Ward, and I'm the lead pastor of the River Church, and I am so grateful that you have chosen to join in with us here this morning. I want to welcome both of our campuses, the River New Kensington and the River Franklin Park, to this service this morning and to this message. And I want to invite everyone watching just to take a moment and share this on whatever social media platform that you're watching it on today. Now, a friend just asked me about how that works, and I had explained to him that you go to the River New Ken YouTube, and all the videos are there. You can copy the link, text it, email it. You can send it that way. At 9 o'clock on Sunday mornings, we post the sermon on Facebook. You can share it there. And at 8 a.m., we have our live interactive worship service online that we invite you to join in with us. It's pre-recorded, but I'm on it, and we are able to interact. So want to invite you to join in with that. Now, you may be saying, Dean, I'm just so confused, first of all. What are you doing? Well, I wanted to share with you a few of my Father's Day gifts before we got started. Father's Day, the way Father's Day gifts work at my house is they ask me what I want, I tell them, and then they get them. Or I see what I'd like, and I buy it, and then bring it home and tell them, I want you to give this to me for Father's Day. So my second daughter, who has a big job now, she reached out to me and said, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day? And I just ran across these Andy's Secret keto granola packs that I have fallen in love with, and they're hard to find. Well, she went on Amazon and bought me 3. I asked for 4, but she bought me 3 packs of these, and I am so excited. I like them to crunch on. I can also pour milk over them, have them like cereal. They help make my Father's Day great. Secondly, I was somewhere this spring, and I went into a sporting goods store and saw this jacket. And I thought, man, I would love to own that Carhartt jacket. It was like really on sale, and I'm like, oh, I just loved it. So I put it on, it fit perfect, and so I bought it, and to justify it, I came home and gave it to my wife and said, you can give this to me on Father's Day. She forgot all about it. We're having dinner on Father's Day Sunday. They gave me a couple gifts, and I'm like, well, where's my big gift from you, Leslie? And she's like, what? And then she went and got it, wrapped it. And so this is its maiden voyage to be worn, except I did try it on Sunday, and ever since Sunday, I've been missing my keys, and I just reached in my pocket, and I found my keys. So it's got great pockets. So grateful for this. But I have to tell you, my all-time favorite Father's Day gift just came delivered to the house this afternoon. We're filming Thursday afternoon, and I had to share it with you now. I went to a grad party, and a principal at the school was wearing this T-shirt of the greatest motivational speaker of all time, and I said, man, if I could only have that as a Father's Day gift. And my kids came through, and I'm very grateful. So I hope your Father's Day last week was great. Mine had a great day with my family and kids, and it was fantastic. So I'm filming today at Burl Lake Park, and I wanted to film in front of this guy because parks have a way of taking us back to when life was just a little bit slower, a little bit calmer, made a little bit more sense, back to the good old days. And my very first trip to the Pittsburgh Zoo, I have a photograph of this. It may be the exact one, I don't know, or one close to it, taking a drink out of the water fountain of this lion's mouth. And just to take me back, I want to experience that now too. How refreshing. Warm park water that's been sitting in there all winter. I'm so grateful that I got to enjoy that together with you. So, I hope you had a great Father's Day, as I mentioned. But we are in part 4 of our series of messages, just simply called Thriving. And we're asking the question, what makes a good life? We are invited to live a thriving life in Jesus Christ and as followers of Him. But so often, we miss the mark. We fall short. So for this sermon series during the summer, we're breaking down and looking at some components of life that make life good. And sometimes they're overlooked components of living and following Christ. And that's where we find ourselves today as well, because today what makes a good life, what makes a thriving life, we are going to look at the goodness of Sabbath and rest. Now, there's a great passage of Scripture. It's just 2 verses that Jesus spoke, and I'm so glad he said these words. I'm so grateful that these words are included in the Bible, in the Gospels, and they are from him, because I want to believe these words are true. I want to hold on to these words. I want to follow these words, because as we do, we will thrive. You ready? One of the most comforting passages in the New Testament, Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 and 29. Jesus is speaking, and he simply says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Now, is there anyone here whose souls could use a little bit more rest? I'm not talking just a 20-minute cat nap to get enough energy to make it through the day. I'm talking about rest for your souls. Well, Jesus tells us that we can live with rest for our souls when we come to him, when we rest in him. John Mark Comer, one of my favorite authors, wrote a book that is profound. It's just simply called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And he states that we ought to live our lives ruthlessly eliminating hurry in all of its forms from our lives. Corrie ten Boom, the famous survivor of concentration camp and the Holocaust, she wrote a book, and she has this quote. She goes, "If the devil can't make you sin, then he'll make you busy." But in our culture, busyness is valued. Busyness, you get a star, like you get one of those Stargell stars from the late 70s on your baseball cap of life if you live busy. The number of people that come up to me and say, "Pastor Dean, I know you've been really busy. I know you're busy. Busy, 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 busy." And they say it like it's a badge of honor. Like, my goal is to be just busy and busy and busy. Both sin and busyness have the exact same effects on our lives. Both sin and busyness cut off our connection to God, to other people, and even to our own soul. Carl Jung says hurry is not of the devil. Hurry is the devil. The number one problem we face is time. People are just too busy to live emotionally healthy and spiritually rich and vibrant lives. Now, there's a healthy kind of busyness when your life is full of things that matter, not wasted on empty leisure or trivial pursuits. The problem is not when you have a lot to do. It's when you have too much to do, and the only way to keep up the quota is to hurry. That kind of busy is what has us all reeling. Well, in John Mark Comer's book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, he outlines 4 practical steps, 4 practices of unhurrying our lives. And for the rest of our message this morning, I would like to just look at all 4 of those, 4 practices of unhurrying our lives. The first one is just simply silence and solitude. The practice of silence and solitude is uncomfortable for us. I was reminded this morning how uncomfortable we are with silence. The gym that I go to, the owner of the gym is young and he loves young people's music. And every day when we come in, he has that music playing 24/7 in the gym. And 6:30 a.m. is a little early for me for the loud rap and rock music he loves to play to get us hyped and going. And this morning, because of the storm that came through Wednesday night, the speaker got knocked out. And it was so refreshing for me to work out in a gym in silence. It was so replenishing for me to work out where there was no music just blasting, blaring. It was so replenishing, refreshing to do that in silence. Until halfway through, and then he figured out on his Roku stick he could play the YouTube channel and play the music he wanted. So we did finally get music, but it was so unnerving to others that, wait, there's no music. I can't work out. I don't know how to do this. And sometimes we live our lives like if we don't have all the noise going, if we don't have all the busy hurriedness going, if we're not going at Mach 5, we just can't handle it. Well, we are invited to live lives that experience silence and solitude. I love this verse the psalmist gives us in Psalm 46, verse 10, when God is speaking, and it says, he says, "Be still and know that I am God." It is hard to remember that God is God and we are not God whenever we're so busy. But when we're still before him, we are reminded that he is God. Andrew Sullivan says, there are books to be read, landscapes to be walked, friends to be with, life to be fully lived. This new epidemic of distraction is our civilization's specific weakness. And its threat is not so much our minds, even as they shape-shift under the pressure. The threat is to our souls. At this rate, if the noise does not relent, we might even forget that we have any soul, that is. The noise of the modern world makes us deaf to the voice of God, drowning out the one input we need most. Ronald Rothschild says, we are distracting ourselves into spiritual oblivion. Now, Brian shared with you how Jesus took great care to withdraw, to pull himself away, to experience solitude, to experience silence, to be still before his Father. And this is the invitation that we see throughout the Gospels. Jesus still pulling himself away, experiencing silence and solitude, because that is where he found his strength in the Father, with the Father, abiding in the Father. And to do that optimally, he pulled away day after day and experienced silence and solitude. How are you doing in your life? Do you have silence and solitude built into the rhythm of your life? I want to share this video with you, just simply called, I Am God. And it's a little loud and busy at the beginning, but I want you to experience the silence that comes in this video. Let's enjoy this video together.
to boost its interest rates up to 18% as it battles against financial collapse. The move is designed to stabilize
their economic messages to win the support of undecided voters.
Well, if you're anything like me, I'm guessing that the silence halfway through that video became very loud. And that's one of the things that happens when we take time for solitude and silence. It's a little unnerving. It's a little uneasy. It creates a little disturbance in us that it's like, wait, I'm not used to this. What is this? But it's the place that God can speak when we are still and silent before Him. The second practice that helps bring unhurry to our life is Sabbath. Now, I have to confess, I am from a background that some of the people that I sat under their teaching emphatically made it clear that the Sabbath was an Old Testament principle that God taught for His people at that time, and that Jesus never restated or commanded Sabbath, and so Sabbath was always kind of devalued. And I have to admit, I'm beginning to explore what part Sabbath might have in my life. And if you Sabbath regularly, man, I would love to converse with you and to see how that works out, how that plays out, how that works in your life. Because in John Mark Comer's book, he makes such a compelling case for how you and I are created to Sabbath. So let's just look at some of the scriptural foundation for Sabbath. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 and 3, it says, "By the seventh day God had finished the work He'd been doing, so on the seventh day He rested from all His work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it He rested from all the work of creating that He had done." Now, it's fascinating to know how God created and how we are made in His image, and we are made as creative beings. But there's something that happens when we just create and create and create and produce and produce and produce, and we don't Sabbath. It erodes our souls. This statement, this command is given to us, not restated, it's given to us by Moses in the Ten Commandments. Now, if you were to break down the Ten Commandments and the proportionate amount of time they were given each in Scripture, when they're given, it wouldn't be 10% each. This command, the fourth command to Sabbath, takes up 30% of the words used and given by God, calling his people to Sabbath. He commanded and said, "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter." Verse 11 continues, "For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and made it holy." And yes, Jesus did say something about the Sabbath. In Mark chapter 2, verse 27, when he violated what the rule keepers of that day were saying, he broke the Sabbath, he reminded them, it says, "Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath." And we have Jesus' words saying to us, the Sabbath is good for our souls. The Sabbath is helpful for our lives. There was an interesting study done that the religious organization that guards the Sabbath vehemently, the Seventh-day Adventists, that they literally live 10% longer than other religious people. And I thought that was fascinating. The Sabbath is a good thing. And I'm going to be reading more and learning more, and I want to begin practicing this because I need the Sabbath for my soul. A third practice of unhurrying our life is just the practice of simplicity. And for those of us that like to collect things and collect stuff, this is very hard to work through. And when I tell you that often I'm preaching my sermons to myself, this is the case. When Leslie and I first got married, it was all about accumulating things, it felt like. And then about 3 years in, Leslie's like, we don't need to accumulate. I want to simplify my life. I want to simplify things. And when we took steps to simplify our lives, we experienced thriving in ways that we had not before. We have some verses that help encourage us to simplify. After I wipe my brow, I'm standing here in the direct sunlight, and I said to Matt, I said, "Is it okay if I put my towel down on the slide? Is it going to be distracting?" And he said, "Dean, your towel is in every sermon that we ever film. It's an old friend. Put it where you want to put it." So there you go. Luke 12:15 says, "Then he said to them," Jesus is teaching, "Watch out, be on your guard. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in abundance of possessions." Mark 4:19, Jesus is teaching and he cautions us. He says, "The worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth and the desires for other things come in and choke the word, making it unfruitful." And then Paul to Timothy, in instructing him how to teach as a minister, says, "Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way they will lay up treasures for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life." Could you use a little more simplicity in your life? I want to invite you to unhurry your life through practicing simplicity. And finally, I want to invite you to engage in the practice of slowing. You're like, well, what is that, Dean? Well, it's an invitation to just intentionally slow down. It's an invitation to taste and see that the Lord is good, to live life at a pace much slower than we usually live our lives. And I want to end with just a few tips on how you can slow, on how you can live a slowing life. These are 10 tips on living slowly. There's many more. These were the ones that grabbed me. And Pastor Brian does this one magnificently. You ready? Number 1, drive the speed limit. What a novel idea, huh? Actually driving intentionally the speed that we are compelled to not go over by law. Brian lives this way, and I'm going to practice it. I'm going to try it out because I'm going to practice living slower. Now, this one I do from time to time just for fun, just to see how it feels in my soul. Number 2, get in the slow lane. Get in the slow lane. Yeah, contrary to what Mike Lang would say at the Penguin games, get in the fast lane, Grandma, or whatever he would say. Have you ever just intentionally gotten in the slow lane and just driven slowly? The speed limit, of course. The third thing I want to invite you to do, and we teach all of our 16-year-old children to do this, but somehow as adults we forget, and that's when we come to a stop sign, come to a complete stop. Try that out for size. And while you're at it, if somebody else comes up shortly after you have stopped, wave them on through first. Try that on for size. See how that feels. Another tip for living slowly. Don't text and drive. I shouldn't have to say it, but we have to be reminded. Here's one. Show up 10 minutes early for an appointment and just wait. Or how about this? Show up on time for your doctor's appointment, and while you're waiting for the 45 minutes to be seen, use that as an invitation to pray, to reflect, to be silent and still before the Lord. Here's one that I do from time to time. It drives me crazy, but it's helpful. Choose to get in the longest checkout line at whatever store you're checking out of. Just try it out. Just try it out. It will disengage you and cause you to experience life at a slower pace for a 15-minute period of time. It's a good social experiment. It will be good for your soul. Yes, it will, Matt. He is nodding ferociously. That's a horrible idea. Visit slowly. My father-in-law, he loves to visit slowly. And I have noticed that I'm always in a hurry when I'm with him. And my commitment is that I'm going to slow down and I'm going to visit with him slowly. My wife has been doing this summer, taking her parents on these field trips and excursions, and she took them somewhere yesterday. They had such a surprisingly amazing time. They had such a surprise at a place they went and what they got to do. When she was dropping her father off at the end of the day, he said, I can't wait to go in and call my brother and tell him what I did today. Because my wife, this summer as a school teacher, has chosen to spend it with her parents, to invest the time with them, and to not be in a hurry. Number 8, take a regular day alone for silence and solitude. When's the last time you've done that? Now, women, I just want to help you understand. Now, many of you may hunt as well, so I'm not trying to be sexist here. But when you wonder why guys love getting in the woods, going out in the woods, or going fishing, or going hunting, it is not to get away from you, okay? That is not why we crave it. Okay, well, maybe a little, but no, I'm just kidding. But we crave it because our souls are designed for solitude and silence. When we take time and go into the woods, we experience solitude and silence in ways that we can't throughout our week. I want to invite you, number 9, to experiment with journaling. Experiment with journaling. Now, my handwriting is indecipherable. And so I experienced with vlogging over the pandemic, and every day got up and just, it felt like journaling to my soul. My Daylight with Dean time was just a verbal way of journaling and logging and chronicling my life and my days during the pandemic. And finally, cook your own food and eat in. Try that on for size. Now, I give you these 10 not because they're in Scripture or they're biblical, they'll make you more godly, but they will help your soul live a little bit slower. So will you engage with me in experiencing the goodness of Sabbath and rest? Our souls were made for it. Amen. God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you for joining in with us here this morning.